So my feeling about I Saw the Light is this. I really do have this obsession with, if you're doing a musical biopic of somebody in which they're a singer, it'd be slightly different perhaps if you were playing an instrument. If you're a singer, you have to have continuity of voice. And those examples that I was quoting before with Gary Busey, one of my problems with La Vie en Rose was the fact that we were moving into Edith Piaf because, who could do Piaf? And for me, this stands or falls on whether the voice that you hear talking is the voice that you hear singing. And there is no question that it is. From the minute that the film begins, and you talked about this, that idea of sing that song, drop everything else out, introduce people to that voice, and you yourself compared it to like the opening of Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yes, the Coen Brothers movie.
So immediately what it does is it tunes you into, this is the voice, this is the form, this is what you're going to get. And I think that all the way through the film, that is sustained. What you do get is this sense that you are watching a person going on a particular journey, a particular trajectory. And whenever he's singing, because so much of what's going on in that film is to do with the songs provide a kind of commentary on the unfolding action, which is to do with him and his marriage falling apart, his health failing, his trouble with his spine, his battles with drink, his battles with medication. And all that has to be heard coming out in the music. And there are a couple of sequences when we just see him almost, on a couch singing a song. And you couldn't do that stuff if you didn't know that what you'd seen before is, up on stage at what's meant to be the Grand Ole Opry and playing and singing in a way that completely convinces you that what you're watching is a unified performance. So as far as Tom Hiddleston is concerned, I think he's right there on the money, and I loved that performance. As far as the film itself is concerned, I think it's not quite as sure-footed. What it does is take the story in a very sort of straightforward way, from the marriage through the touring, through the songwriting, through the marital problems, through all that stuff in a fairly sort of straightforward linear fashion, breaking every now and then to have these kind of faux black and white interviews with people remembering Hank Williams, which I don't think that particularly works as a device. I also think that it doesn't have the kind of classic romantic arc that a film like Walk the Line does have in terms of the way in which that relationship pans out. So I think in terms of a piece of drama, there are flaws with the way it is structured. However, every now and then it hits the right note, certainly with all the musical performances, and certainly in terms of Hiddleston himself. There's a bit in it in which Hank Williams is being interviewed about his songs, and he says, I wrote this down on the screen, he says, everyone has a little darkness in them. They hear it, I show it to them, and they don't have to take it home. Folk music and hillbilly music, it's sincere. There ain't nothing phony about it, and it's describing the songs as Red Cross. And actually, what's nice about that is that when it comes, it doesn't feel like author's message. It doesn't feel like, okay, stop, here we go, here's the thing, here's the what's it, and then we move on. That's organic as well. So I think that what it is it's a flawed film with a flawless central performance. I think it's a film which in itself is fairly straightforward dramatically. And it was weird because when we were talking about Don Cheadle's Miles Ahead recently, and Miles Ahead is completely sort of formally inventive. It basically turns into an action movie. It's got car chases, it's got shootouts, it's got it's got them chasing around after a tape that didn't exist and wasn't stolen. It's got Ewan McGregor as a journalist who didn't exist and wasn't around, and all this stuff didn't happen. I remember saying at the time, just tell me the story. I can do without all this other stuff. Sometimes there were moments in I Saw the Light when actually I felt that a little bit of that invention, a little bit of that formal inventiveness would have gone quite a long way. And of course, if you look at Buddy Holly's story, in terms of it plays really fast and loose with the facts, although it has to because there was a competing movie being made at the same time. So I don't think in terms of the way that it tells the story, it is completely on the money. But it's the lightning rod at the centre of it is Hiddleston. And I bought him the minute we opened, and I bought him all the way through. And he is enough to carry the film through the things that don't work.